Good afternoon, everyone. Before we get started, you want to make sure that you have this handout called Vertex Form of a Parabola, and you and or your partner together should have an iPad with Desmos opened so you can follow along with the activity and complete this. So as I mentioned yesterday, what we're going to be doing is exploring now the equation of parabolas or quadratics. Again, depending what course you had last year or who you were taught, you may have seen a lot of this. You may have not seen as much of this, but I'm going to take you through how it works. The first one we're going to do together, and I'll show you how it works on Desmos. And then you're going to be doing the rest of it on your own to fill it in. And there's some place to draw some conclusions, but I'll highlight that in a little bit. Okay, so once you have this form, and I'm going to switch over to my notepad here. Okay, so my first equation is y equals x squared. So I'm going to go over to Desmos and just put that equation in. So same way like yesterday, so I have y equals x. Okay, and the squared exponent is right here, this little a squared. Okay, so here's the basic shape. That's what my parabola looks like, and this curve, U-shaped curve. So you'll notice on our table, okay, that both we need to do a graph and a point table. So I'd personally recommend doing the point table first because it'll make it a little easier to draw the graph over here. And the way you can do this in Desmos is once you have the equation in there, if you click on Edit here, okay, you can see I've got a button that says Convert to Table. So when I convert that to table, I get two things happening. One, there's my partial table. And two, you can see it's added some dots to highlight where the various points are. Okay, so here at -2, it's at 4, -1, it's at 1, and so on. So I'm going to go back over here. So I had -2, and that had a value of 4. Then I had 1, and 0, and 1, and 4. Now you notice I didn't get the 3 and the -3, so I'm going to go back over to Desmos, and actually I can just change any of these values that I want to, or add another one down here. So if I want 3, and you can see it automatically filled that in, I have a point at 9. And I'll also throw on my -3, I know it's out of order, but I've got 9 there as well. So let's go back to the table. And I'm going to put in a 9 here and a 9 there. Alright, so you can see how Desmos can generate those points for you with the table. So now I'm going to make my graph over here to match what I saw there. So I'll start in the middle here at a point at, pardon me, a point at 0, okay, a point at 1, 1, and -1, 1. Okay, I have another point at 4, and I had another point at 9. Okay, and I know I'm going to have a really difficult time trying to do this curve with a mouse. Yeah, that does not look the greatest. Okay, you can probably do a much better job than I can on my computer here, but that's the idea, right? It's going to look something like this when you draw it. Okay, so what are these other things that we're filling in down here? So first, the vertex. Okay, the vertex is either the highest or lowest point on the parabola. Basically, it's the spot where it turns around. So here, that's going to be my lowest point on the graph. Okay, so this is my vertex right here. Okay, so what you are going to be writing here is the coordinates of the vertex. So that's at the origin. So in this case, my coordinates are 0 and 0. Okay, and again, here that was the lowest point in my table. Second part, what is the direction of opening? So just like lines can have a positive or a negative slope, right? They can be pointing up or pointing down. Okay, a vertex either opens up, so this is opening up, where I have a low point and it goes up on either side. So this one's going to be up. Okay, if my parabola was facing the other way, so if it looks something like this, okay, that would be opening down. But this one is up. The final thing we're going to be filling in here is what's known as the step pattern. So again, when we're doing lines, we're using the slope to figure out where our next point would be. Right? We could start with the y-intercept and then use the slope to go to our next point. So with a parabola, what we can use is the vertex. So that's kind of my starting point, the highest or lowest point in the middle of the curve. And then we're going to use what's called the step pattern to quickly graph the rest. So what it's talking about is here, right? So when I start at the vertex, when I go over 1, so I move 1 spot this way, how far do I go up? Well, the first time I go up 1. And then from there, when I go over again, how much do I go up the next time? Okay, and you can see this is 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I do it again. When I go over 1, how far do I have to go up to get to the next point? I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now you may notice a bit of a pattern starting here. If I was to keep going, the next one is actually going to be 7. If I am going up by 2s here, be 7 and then 9 and so on. Okay, but this is enough to get the graph started. So this is kind of the basic step pattern is 1, 3, and 5. Okay. So that's all I need you to do, okay, is to collect a table, get to sketch your graph, okay, and fill in this information. What's the vertex? Which direction does it open? And what is the step pattern? So as you go through the rest of the activity, okay, a couple things to note. Okay, so you can see right here's the next one, right, number 2, slightly different equation. Same thing, right? Fill in the table, write down this information. Okay, some things to watch for. Okay, 1, at the bottom of each page, it's going to have a question. What is the effect when a number is added or subtracted to the equation? Right, so the only difference between these equations, right, and the one I just did, is that for this one, I added 2. Right, I had the x squared before, but I added 2. And this one, I had x squared and take away 3. So hopefully when you graph it, you'll notice a simple change in the graph, and that's what is causing that. Okay, so kind of on each page, there's a different adjustment that's being made. So see on the next page we have some brackets and the squared, and you're going to be doing that. Okay, so just on the bottom of each page, you have to make sure you answer this question, right? What's the effect? So what's happening when you make that change to the equation? Okay, the second thing you just need to be a little careful of, okay, is not every table has the same x values. Okay, the one we did went from -3 to 3, and both of these ones do, but starting on the third page, I have some different ones. So this one starts at 0 and goes to 6. So make sure that you're adjusting your table in Desmos accordingly so you get the points that you actually want. Okay, so that's just the activity. Okay, when you are finished this part, okay, so using Desmos to get the graphs, okay, and answering the questions. So once you think you understand what's going on here, or what the different numbers do to the graph, okay, then you're going to ask for this. So this is kind of the follow-up to see if you actually understand what was going on. So hopefully by the time you've done this activity, you'll have figured out what all these different numbers do to the equation, right? What are the different ways I can change the equation, change the appearance of the graph. Okay, so that's the overall goal here, is you're going to kind of teach yourself what the different parts of this do. All right, so you got the activity laid out for you, and I'll leave instructions with the supply teacher of what I want handed in or not handed in, or if we're just going to kind of take it up together tomorrow. Okay, but you got lots of time. Okay, and please use the time well, and I will see you tomorrow.